fantastic Friday, July 16th, 2021. We are in the land of the living. Let's give all praises and thanks to the Most High for that we are on the wake-up list this morning. Send up a quick word of thank you that we woke up this morning and we're able to do what we plan to do. Even if you can't get to what you plan to, you are alive and well. Say thanks. Say good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Those of you joining us on the GBN Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11, and 20. Good morning to all the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9, and all the folks joining us on Party Grenada and Go to FET Facebook pages. Wago Olio, trust you had a restful Thursday and you see the weekend coming over the Himalayas. It's Friday. We put in just enough to get through today, to get to Saturday and Sunday. But nevertheless, you got to do what you got to do. Good morning. Let's go. It's time for this morning's word of the day. This morning's word of the day. These things are actually words. Today's word of the day is flapdoodle. Bosh. These things are actually words, you know. All right, let me go. Flapdoodle is a colloquialism that first appeared in print in 1834 along with a definition. It's the stuff they feed fools on. Flapdoodle has no reliable etymology. The meaning of flap is pure conjecture, but some scholars suggest that doodle has its archaic sense of fool or silly person. Flapdoodle entered English, in the 19th century. The word of the day this morning. Word of the day this morning is a word actually found dictionary.com. Flapdoodle. Flapdoodle. It is a noun which means nonsense or bosh. An example of the use of the word: this is flapdoodle. No college was not single-handedly culpable for the economic calamity of the 1930s. Another example of the use of the word: now I remember some silly flapdoodle about vessels and chalices and secret societies, but not much else. Nothing, it seems, rubbed off on me. Word of the day this morning, flapdoodle. Flapdoodle. It is a noun which means nonsense or bosh. See how you can use it. Somebody must come to you with some foolishness, some stupidness, some nonsense. That's a good time to use the word of the day, flapdoodle. Anytime somebody come to you with stupidness or fretting you, I ain't had time for that flapdoodle. Okay, I'll give you the sentence to use one time there. You had to say it in the same tone. I ain't had time for that flapdoodle. Right? Set up all yourself right, alright? Alas, I can't believe these things are actually in the dictionary. Alright, let me go. Flapdoodle. Alright, as you go into your weekend, I should say, and you go about your fantastic, fantalocious Friday, hopefully it does not have any flapdoodle in it. The thought for today is: let your dreams be bigger than your fears and your actions be louder than your words. Let your dreams be bigger than your fears and your actions louder than your words. Have yourselves a blessed, productive weekend. I wish you guys all the best for the rest of the day and going into the weekend. Just set your eyes on the bigger prize and don't let the naysayers, including your own mind, deter you from what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. Your short-term goals, your long-term goals, whatever they may be. Let your dreams be bigger than your fears and your actions be louder than your words. That's the thought of today. And I wish you, each and every one of you, a blessed, productive, dream-filled weekend. All right, let's see what is celebrated today. Now, if you're squeamish, you may want to not even close your eye. The picture is not that, scary. But today it is World Snake Day. World Snake Day. I deliberately looked for a photo that would not elicit such fear and frighten those of you who are fearful of the creatures. But I had to. It is World Snake Day today. Every year on July 16th, it aims to increase awareness regarding the over 3,500 snake species that exist across the world. Yes, that's a lot of snakes, and guess what? Not all of them are scary or poisonous as we believe them to be. The fascinating reptiles are often not given the recognition they deserve just because of the bad reputation they have earned over the years. For instance, a friend who is a traitor is known as a snake. The day aims to change the negative perception surrounding snakes and promote the love for all living beings, even the ones we fear. In Grenada, we don't have snakes. We have serpents. We call them snakes sometimes, but no lies. All I remember some years ago, we had an anaconda in the bush. Yes, no man. We have snakes, man, and they found one in somewhere in St. Andrew too. No lies, Blossom. We have snakes and serpents in Grenada. Was it Pearl's boy in the bush? And we had one the other day. Not the other day, but some years ago. Renee. Yes. All right. It's World Snake Day today. Do not fear the creatures. Some of them are harmless. Sometimes they fear us more than we fear them. That's why they attack. They're trying to protect themselves. So if you see a serpent today, just be nice to it. Don't kill it. I don't know what to tell you on World Snake Day. The rest of you and the rest of the world, you may encounter snakes more often than we do here in Grenada or the rest of the Caribbean. Be nice to them, especially today. It is World Snake Day today. All right, and just as a heads up, before we go into the news, next from Monday, God willing, the traffic department of the RGPF has advised that one lane of the Mount Gay Public Road will be closed to vehicular traffic effective Monday, God willing, and that closure will be in place for a period of at least 3 months. So those of you who travel the St. George Northeast constituency area communities, please keep that in mind, specifically as of Monday. So then you would leave home a little bit earlier. Expect traffic delays as one lane waits for the other to pass, and so on and so forth. So just as a heads up, so you can better plan your weekend and better plan your Monday morning and your next 3 months. One lane of the Mount Gay Public Road will be closed to vehicular traffic from Monday for a period of 3 months, and that's to facilitate the construction of a retaining wall and drains in the vicinity of the Motor Department, Hubbard's Motor Department, the showroom. So keep that in mind as you get ready for next week and the next 3 months at least. Now let's get ready for the morning edition of news. For those of you on radio and those of you on our visual platforms, we bring you highlights of last evening's newscast. It's Good Morning Grenada on a fantalocious, fabulous Friday. Hopefully does not have any flap doodle in it. We'll be right back. Somebody say yeah.
Lawrence Bell has been placed on $150,000 bail with 2 sureties. All offenses for which Bell is being charged are bailable offenses. Bell has been charged with 18 counts of sexually related offenses, 9 incest, 5 sexual assaults, and 4 indecent assaults. Bell first appeared before the St. George's Magistrates Court on Monday, however was not able to secure bail and was remanded to Her Majesty's Prison until Thursday, July 15th. Representing attorney Anselm Clouden explained that the provisional adjournment to St. David's Magistrates Court did not materialize and was brought back to St. George's. Clouden explained Bell's bail conditions.
He was successful today in being admitted to bail in the sum of $150,000 with 2 sureties. He's to report every Wednesday to the St. David's police station. He's not to interfere with witnesses. He's to stay away from the victim and all those who are closely related to the victim. He cannot communicate with third parties that can communicate with the victim, or else he'd be brought back and bail would be revoked. So Bell is due back in court on October 15th.
Public officers will have to wait for at least a few more months to find out their fate as it relates to pension, but it shouldn't be a drawn-out process. At least that is not what is expected by the lawyers representing the public sector unions. The historic hearing on pension restoration, which will determine whether public servants who joined the public sector after 1983 are assured a government pension, was heard on Thursday. Gerald Joseph has the details.
Lawyers representing public sector unions are hopeful for a judgment before year's end. Attorneys at law James Bristol, Rogers Ferguson and Cajetan Hood represented the public sector unions in the historic pension matter on Thursday. Speaking with GBN post-hearing, James Bristol says both sides were invited to write their closing submissions by October 29th and believes a written judgment will come in short order.
I would expect it certainly before the end of the year, and I would like to think it's there before the end of November, because the judge has already our submissions, which he read because he understood the case, and he just wants us to summarize our positions really as we articulated in person today.
He explains the reason for the lapse in time for the written submissions is because the court is due to close at the end of July.
I don't really see how the court can get around the McQueen case, being it's a Court of Appeal decision which declared the law to be, as it stated therein, that is the Pension Act, Chapter 233, which applies, and the other associated acts. We have prison officers, police, and we have teachers. That these are the acts, the original laws are the ones that apply, and we would like that upheld, or followed rather. And if the government wants to appeal, well, that will be a matter for them.
Bristol says the Attorney General representing government put forward that NIS is the pension and the McQueen case is not applicable. The attorneys for the public sector unions presented a constitutional motion on their position in regard to the pension law to be applied for public officers who joined the service after April 4th, 1983.
To put our position that, relying on the case of McQueen and Chief Justice Byron as he then was, that the National Insurance Act never introduced a new pension scheme for public officers, in particular, as it was supposed to do. And therefore, based on the McQueen decision, the original Pension Act applies. And given that the old Pension Act applies, the Pension Disqualification Act couldn't take away that pension.
Government maintains it will await the outcome of the court matter and will be guided accordingly. I am Gerald Joseph for GBN News.
Government has confirmed that its legal team and the attorneys representing the public sector unions have just over 3 months to file their closing submissions. According to the government's release, October 29th was given as a deadline for filing closing submissions, and the court has reserved its decision. The critical matter for the court to determine is what pension law is applicable for public officers after February 22nd, 1985. Government's position is that pension payable to public officers is based on the National Insurance Act for officers who entered the service after February 22nd, 1985. As such, retired public officers who started in the public service after that date are paid pension in accordance with the NIS Act. The government's Pension Engagement Committee, in its negotiations with the trade unions before the matter being taken to court, proposed a top-up of that NIS pension payment to ensure that no public officer went home with a pension of less than 70%. Gerald Samson is the daughter of a farmer from Black Bay, St. John, who uses ground provision to make flour. The mother and wife started the initiative just for her family, but decided to make it into a small business while taking advantage of promoting healthy eating. Rena Pear-Thomas brings you another untold story.
Walking into our studio this morning was Miss Gerald Samson, the producer of The Farmer's Daughter. And this unique brand, we're going to hear all about it and what exactly is The Farmer's Daughter. So Gerald, tell us a little bit about your product first.
So my product idea came about because I am originally the farmer's daughter, not only in the name of the brand, but also because I am a daughter of a son of the soil who has been doing gardening for over 40 years. And I used to always see my father come home and have a lot of produce, sometimes things that are not sold, and some of them would spoil. So I think the best thing would have been, of course, to find a way that we can save the produce as well as maximize the usage of it, so you have less waste. And I came up with the farmer's daughter. The farmer's daughter is a range of 9 different types of flowers. All of them are local, all of them are from ground provision, except for corn. So we have 9 in all. And there are no preservatives in them, no anti-kicking agents, so persons can feel safe in utilizing products from this range.
And tell me, what are your flour made out of? Tell me the different products.
Okay, so what I'm holding right now is Yummy Yum. So we have Yummy Yum. We have Glorious Green Banana. We also have Blessed Breadfruit. We have Captivating Cassava. We have Classic Corn. We also have Perfect Plantain. We have Tasty Tanya, we have Delicious Dasheen, and we also have Satisfying Sweet Potato.
And you make flour
out of all of these products. So for persons who are on a gluten-free diet, this is perfect for you because most of our ground provisions don't contain gluten. As a matter of fact, if you want to make regular bread, because you can use it to make bread, cake, dumpling, porridge, whatever, if you're looking for that same texture that you get with regular bread, you'll of course add it to your regular all-purpose flour.
So tell me, where can people find your product? I mean, you're launching today, it's your first day, but what are your plans? What are your dreams? What do you want?
Okay, so hopefully I'm wishing that all of the supermarkets will be willing to carry the farmer's daughter, as well as the Marketing and National Importing Board, because I also want that the product reaches Carriacou, our trial state. I mean, the sky's the limit. We don't know where it's going to head to. God is in charge of this venture, and I'm interested to see where he's going to take me with it. As a matter of fact, right now, I'm actually waiting to receive my certificates from the Bureau of Standards as it concerns the label.
How can persons contact you?
Okay, so I can be contacted at 536-0860 for persons who are willing to make orders.
You can also contact Ms. Samson on her Facebook page, The Farmer's Daughter. For GBN News, I am Rena Pett Thomas reporting.
Do you eat healthy? It has been documented that good nutrition is pertinent in maintaining mental and physical health. Tonight's health segment focuses on the importance of good nutrition.
When you need your prescription filled or you require non-prescribed medication, supplements, or all your personal needs, visit Gittins Healthcare at locations on Wall Street, Grandans, Victoria Street, Brentwood, and Central Deputy Street, Wharf. Gittins Healthcare aims to provide an exceptional personalized pharmacy experience. Additionally, children under 5 and adults 55 years and over will enjoy 10% discount on purchases of $20 and over on prescription medication. Stop settling for less. Visit Gittins Healthcare, where your health is our priority.
I've always been passionate about the work I do in caring, but I just really see the value in nutrition. It is primary health. It's about everybody's lives. Everybody has something that they deal with around food, so it's a common language. Food is really the gateway to health.
That was the Director of Food and Nutrition and Clinical Services at Washington Hospital Healthcare System, Kimberly Alvery, shedding light on the value of nutrition. However, the WHO noted that there is currently a new nutrition reality.
It is a reality where undernutrition, such as micronutrient deficiencies, stunting and wasting, overweight, obesity, and diet-related non-communicable diseases like diabetes and cancer now coexist in the same countries, communities, households, and even individuals. This according to the WHO is called the double burden of malnutrition, which impacts not only one's health, but also the health of the planet and economies. Their video production raises awareness on the double burden of malnutrition and its drivers.
We live in a world where undernutrition and obesity can exist side by side in the same country, home, or even person. Foods high in sugars, salt, and/or unhealthy fats are leading to unhealthy diets and are one reason why children may not be growing healthily, while causing other people to develop overweight or obesity. The consumption of unhealthy diets is heavily influenced by marketing. Easy access is fueling this new nutrition reality, but thankfully, change towards a healthier future is possible. By having a sustainable, healthy diet made up of a variety of foods that are safe for consumption, we can promote health and have better abilities to fight illness. How do we do this? Good nutrition for women during pregnancy and for children in their first 1,000 days of life, including breastfeeding, sets them up for healthy adulthood and future generations. We should eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, pulses, nuts and seeds, and less sugary drinks and foods high in sugars, salt and unhealthy fats. The less of these foods we buy, the more the food industry will be encouraged to produce foods that contribute to healthy diets.
It has been documented that nutrition is considered a primary therapy because not only is it the foundation of many treatment plans, it is a building block of a healthy lifestyle. From diabetes to heart disease, experts say the effects of serious medical conditions can be managed, mitigated, or even prevented with good nutrition. Krista Campbell, GBN News.
Labour Senator Andrew Lewis made a quick pit stop at the rally organized by the public sector unions on Wednesday to lend his support to the efforts, as well as highlight the motion he was seeking to bring before the upper house. The motion, he said, is seeking to ensure that vaccination is not made mandatory.
It is a long struggle. This is a matter that I tried to get. This is a matter that I tried to get in the Senate since last month, since early June. We are not successful. It's part of the struggle. This struggle will not be easy. I want to explain that to comrades. So I am taking a very quick break. I just cut on swallow to be able to come here to address this issue.
Senator Lewis recognized the SGU workers who participated in the march and rally and are now on the front line in the struggle against mandatory vaccination being enforced by employers.
Rebecca, my sister, long live. Your struggle is an important struggle, sis. It may take long, and I'm speaking to my SGU posse. I'm speaking to my SGU posse. Let's give a round of applause to SGU posse. These are the workers, comrades. These are the workers, despite what is happening, that has made a stand. These are the workers who have made a stand. And because of their numbers, the battle will be longer. We told you all that. But believe you me, when we say that we are totally committed to getting what is yours, it may take a long while, but comrades, for workers as you, we have to salute you. To stand for what you believe in.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sean Charles says the first batch of Astrazeneca vaccines in Grenada that were produced in India are engulfed in some level of vaccine politics.
The Astrazeneca vaccine was developed by the University of Oxford. All right, the AstraZeneca company is manufacturing the vaccine. The Serum Institute of India, all right, was licensed to produce the vaccine. All right, so it's the same vaccine. The Serum Institute of India was licensed to produce the vaccine. The Europeans have chosen to approve only the vaccine that is produced in Europe and not necessarily consider the fact that the vaccine is being produced under license by another producer.
He further explained the issue.
They are a licensed manufacturer, and I'm guessing in their thought, they did not need to relicense the same vaccine. All right, so there is some element of vaccine politics. There is a lot that is written on this subject it is creating a lot of outrage because this vaccine was not only administered here in the Caribbean. It's the same vaccine that went to Canada, the same vaccine that went to the UK. All right? So, like I said, there is some element of vaccine politics that is occurring here. And we wait for the giants to solve this issue among themselves.
Health Minister Nicholas Steele says to date all COVID-19 vaccines on island are produced in Italy and are internationally accepted. He said the current stock of Astrazeneca is not from the Serum Institute of India, since those were all used up and the remaining sent to Trinidad and Tobago. The latest data shows that as of the 13th of July, a total of 35,468 vaccine doses have been administered. Grenada currently has one active imported case of COVID-19. Who gets the vaccine and when are not only serious questions in powerful countries, but also around the globe. Many believe that powerful countries might just be using the virus for political gain. Krista Campbell has the details on vaccine politics.
Cuba began its COVID-19 mass vaccination campaign more than a month ago with homegrown, unproven vaccines, wagering that they would prove effective enough to blunt the rapid spread of the coronavirus on the cash-strapped Caribbean island. The gamble appears to be paying off. The Cuban health authorities recently announced that their country's 3-shot Abdala vaccine had proved about 92% effective against the coronavirus in late-stage clinical trials. The announcement places Abdala among the most effective COVID vaccines in the world, according to data from clinical trials. Other countries like Russia, China, and India are all engaged in a type of vaccine diplomacy whereby they are producing and exporting vaccines to Caribbean countries. Peter Richards, editor of Caribbean Media Corporation, highlighted the political motives of developed countries where vaccine provision to Caribbean nations is concerned.
India, as you know, India is trying to be a heavyweight, quote unquote, in this new geopolitical situation. So you have India on the one hand providing vaccines. You have the United States, because of what was happening, China's voyage, if you want to put it that way, into the Caribbean and providing vaccines. The United States could not be seen as, hey, we're not going to send you vaccines. We are in the United States backyard, as they like to say. So you have the politics of vaccine also playing out. And that's another thing Caribbean countries have to deal with.
Dr. Terence Marshall added to the vaccine politics discourse on the Beyond the Headlines program.
The deliberate attempts on the part of the U.S. media, the propaganda machine, to suppress that information. You don't hear anything about the Cuban vaccine. And all it has to do with, the influence of Big Pharma and all of that.
Cuba's vaccine news was seen as a rare cause for celebration on an island that has been hammered both by the pandemic and by U.S. sanctions.
I'm very proud because it's one of Cuban scientists' biggest achievements. It's taken a huge effort.
It has been noted that several countries, including Mexico, Argentina, Vietnam, and Iran, have expressed interest in Cuba's coronavirus vaccine. The high announced rate of efficacy could reinforce hopes that biotechnology exports will help lift Cuba from the depths of its economic crisis. Krista Campbell, GBN News.
Meanwhile, Minister for Health Nicholas Steele ruled out Astrazeneca as an experimental vaccine. He wants Grenadians to understand the difference between an experimental vaccine and an emergency vaccine. The AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer, and other vaccines used by countries worldwide are for emergency use and not for experimental purposes. The health minister said the emergency created by the pandemic forced manufacturing companies to fast-track the production of the vaccine to be able to distribute to countries to help save lives.
3.5 billion doses have been given to date. In fact, it's now up to 22 million doses per day are being administered worldwide. And I think individuals need to recognize the difference between emergency use and experimental use. This is not an experimental vaccine. Emergency use means that the use is fast-tracked to make available because there is a global emergency to get it to as all the countries in a timely manner. That is the emergency that has allowed the use of this, not the experiment.
With Grenadians still hesitant to take the vaccine, Minister Steele assures Grenadians that the vaccines available on island are accepted internationally.
All the vaccines on island are licensed throughout. They are not the SII Serum Institute. We've used up all of those, or as we had announced, we had shared with the government and people of Trinidad the remaining stock of those. So all the vaccines currently are accepted internationally. The Astrazeneca the batch that we have is produced in Italy.
As of July 13th, 2021, 20,421 Grenadians have received the first dose of the Astrazeneca vaccine and 15,047 are fully vaccinated. Newly appointed Senator Rolanda McQueen is intent on making her mark in one of the highest offices in the land. She was welcomed to the upper house by President of the Senate, Chester Humphrey, on Wednesday. We get more in this report.
Newly appointed Senator Rolanda McQueen in her maiden speech says she hopes to make a positive impact on lawmaking, which will set the foundation for something greater for the next generation.
We as lawmakers are also standing here at a time when we need to strengthen rules and regulation that will protect workers, women and children against an expanding appetite for exploitation. That if not stemmed, will devalue our very nation.
The opposition senator called on government for openness, freedom of the press, transparency and access to information.
We need to stamp out corruption in all forms and places. Corruption typically results in many years of general hardship and suffering of the mass majority of citizens. Corrupt governments routinely ignore economic and social problems in the quest to amass even more wealth and power.
President of the Senate, Chester Humphrey, while welcoming Senator McQueen, explained that the laws are made for the purpose of good governance, the order, safety and well-being of the citizens.
Our role is a unique one and a very fundamental one because it gives expression to our belief system of democracy through representation of the people, for the people, and by the people.
He admonished the new senator to cherish the honorable post, highlighting the expectations to execute her responsibilities and duties fully. McQueen, appointed under the recommendation of opposition leader Tobias Clement, says she is prepared to be a watchdog within the Senate for the rise of a new Grenada. I am Gerald Joseph for GBN News.
Some semblance of work should begin as early as the first quarter of 2022 in the Molyneux land slippage area. That's according to Minister for Infrastructure, Norland Cox, during a recent tour of the site. We get more in this report.
With Cabinet already giving its approval, residents of Molyneux are waiting with bated breath for the commencement of work on the Molyneux Road. According to Infrastructure Minister Norland Cox, the Molyneux Road is at the preliminary design stage as being prepared by the consulting firm for approval by the Caribbean Development Bank. Since December 2019, traffic has been diverted through Mount Morris due to the continuous land slippage that has been taking place in the area. Minister Cox has been making the rounds on a number of project sites during the past week.
Now, what would have happened thus far is that we have the completion of the study and suggestions as to options as to what implementation actions that we're going to take in particular with Molyneux in addressing Molyneux's situation here, and also the entire roadway. You have a number of slopes to be stabilized, and we notice a number of slides taking place with heavy downpours, boulders coming down. So all that will form part of that remedial work.
A number of businesses and homeowners have been inconvenienced, and as a result, some have had to find alternative accommodation.
A nation of negative impacts have evolved from just the slippage right here. So we are working feverishly to have this done. The parliamentary rep for the area, Prime Minister, of course, you know, we met here a couple months ago with residents to update them as how we're moving forward, and he's very much on the pulse with this, and we are hopeful that as we move forward, that come the first quarter of 2022, that we will see some infrastructure work starting right here on the Molyneux site. We are working feverishly to have this done. That is where we are right now with Molyneux.
This project forms part of a 26-kilometer project which spans from the National Stadium to St. Mark. The minister explained what can be expected when this project commences, adding that for the other areas, slopes will be stabilized, roadways paved, and drainage and culverts will be installed.
On the recommended option from the consultants, we are going to have reinforced concrete on the top side of this road. This road is going to go back more inland, and reinforced concrete on the top side of this road, and you have reinforced concrete on the bottom side of the road, and also a terracing of reinforced concrete go all the way down to the shoreline. That is, in a nutshell, what the scope will look like just for Molyneux here proper.
Christina John, GBN News.
Once upon a time, we shopped at Wonderland, then Neverland. But we're all grown up now and no longer believe in fairy tales. So now we just shop at Shoes R Us. At Shoes R Us, we stock the latest in shoes, tops, and jeans for the fashion-conscious lady. We also carry colognes and much, much more. And for the modern trendy male, we have the latest brand name shoes and sneakers, Converse, Reebok, Nike, K-Swiss, Puma, and much more. So check us out at our two convenient locations, Melville Street in St. George and Ben Jones Street in Granville. At Shoes R Us, we say, come shop with us.
Ultratech gasoline and diesel, available only at Rubis stations.
It's Black Friday in July at Courts. This Friday 16th and Saturday 17th. Switch it up with great deals on TVs just in time for the Olympics. Save $400 off the JVC 65-inch 4K Android Smart TV, now just $2,599. Or get the MasterTech 43-inch LED FHD Smart TV for only $1,199. Save $400. Shop today with Ready Finance and pay nothing for 60 days. Offers valid for a limited limited time. Friday 16th and 17th July. Shop in store and online at shopcourts.com. Enjoy Black Friday deals this week only at Courts. Courts, bringing value home.
Hello everyone, I'm Godfrey Augustine. Culture is ever-changing, and every nation has its own unique culture. And within a nation, the communities have their unique subcultures. Here in Grenada, it's no different. We have our unique culture and also our subcultures. But there is an emerging trend in Grenada that's happening. And you know, different behaviors and actions, if continued long enough and on a broad enough scale, can eventually become part of our culture. The emerging trend of weekend jab is quickly growing in Grenada. Should it continue? Or will it eventually become part of our culture or our weekend culture? Weekend jab. Join us this Friday on We Culture. Myself, together with scholar, Doc, and Risi, will look into the issue and the emerging trend of weekend jab. See you this Friday on We Culture.
Welcome back to Good Morning Grenada. It is now 19 minutes after 7 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. Those of you just coming on board, happy to have you. Those of you who stuck with us, thanks for your patience. Let's get into it. It's Friday, and that means it's time to enter the showroom. This is where we feature some of our local talent, our talented Grenadians. We fill up our talent, and I am happy to be one of the people that is sharing and sharing the information with you and letting you know who they are and what they're about. This month we've been featuring our local authors, and I am happy to have two young female, operative word here being female, authors joining me in the showroom this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the showroom this morning Camille John and Amy Jones. Good morning, ladies, and thank you so much for being in the showroom this morning.
Good morning.
Happy to have you both joining me, and like I said, female power all the way. I'm always happy when there's female. Whoop, whoop. So again, ladies, thank you so very much for joining us in the showroom this morning. As usual, I always like to start from the beginning, from whence we came, as the phrase goes. So let's start from when you started, or when you thought that, you know, it's time to put pen to paper and write a book. Camille, I know you've been on the program before when we were featuring poetry. So let's start. You know what? We'll go in alphabetical order. We'll start with Amy this morning. Yes. So Amy, tell us how you started and when you thought, you know, authorship, as I put it, authorship is for you. I like that.
All right. So I started writing in primary school, St. Andrew's Methodist School. I used to write a lot of poetry, but in 2014, I decided I was going to compile a lot of the pieces that I had and put a book together. So in 2014, I would have published Beyond Fables Poetry. And in 2019, I decided to, try novel writing, see if that was my thing. And that's where I realized that I do have a love for writing things outside of poetry. So I would have published Chains That Bind. And during the pandemic, when everybody was inside and there was nothing else to do because we were on lockdown, I decided to challenge myself to put poetry and storytelling together. And this is why I have my third book, A to Z Odyssey.
Oh, I like that. Bridging the two. You did one, you did a next one, and then you decide, all right, let's bring the three of them together. I like how you're thinking. And Camille, tell us about how you started.
I started writing in earnest at 7 years old. I did stories at the time. They were not any good, but they were a good source of expression. And I discovered my poetry writing talents when I was 11 in secondary school. But it was only in 2018 I really got serious with the idea of putting the poems that I had together, because at the time I probably had about 350 poems, not all suited for one book. That would be overkill. So I gathered 22 of them and I published Between the Rhymes. That's the anthology of poems that I have. I'm currently working on a novel, so I'm kind of following Amy's little lead there. Yes.
Poetry. Poetry writing to me is probably harder than novel writing. I'm a reader, so I could jot down a chapter, if that much, in a book. But to actually put poems together, more than one actually, that seems like it's tougher, because you have to rhyme and you have to ensure the rhythm goes, and limericks, and oh gosh, what's the rest of the things again? I can't remember from school. How does it come easy to either of you to put poetry together?
I think it does. I do think that it comes easier sometimes depending on the situation. But one of the things that it's important to note is not all poems need to rhyme. So we do have free form poems, but sometimes there's a situation that you're writing about. It doesn't have a rhyming scheme, but it's poetry. So it's kind of easy to write sometimes, because in comparison to writing a novel, you have a plot, you have to stick to that, you have to come to your climax. And it's similar sometimes with poetry, but sometimes how it flows, you just write, and when you look at the paper, it's completed, and that's exactly what you want. Camille may say something completely different, because I think she writes poetry more than I do.
Well, poetry for me is, I don't really have to think about it. That's the difference. For my novel, I started this in 20, and I think writing novels, you have to be in a headspace. For me, it takes up so much more of the energy, because I really have to think about it. This character, who are they? How are they? Because sometimes, if you're not familiar, you would have two characters kind of coming out the same. So you have to really think, who is this person? Who is that person? What do they like? How do they look? How would they respond to a certain situation? When I'm writing poetry, I have none of these problems. I just write, and by the time I'm finished, I have an entire poem ready to deliver. So for me, it's easier.
Okay, fair enough. I guess what is for you is for you. What's your forte is your forte. I get it. So with the hundreds of poetry that you have written over the years, how did you wind it down to include these in the books that you've published?
Who goes first? I go
yes,
first.
You go first, yeah.
All right, so for Beyond Fables Poetry, I wanted to write a small book that was centered around women, specifically or Black women. And I had 4 specific aspects of the book that I wanted to cover. So there was love, there was the struggles of womanhood, and mothers, greetings to mothers, and about 4 of them. So I had to now sift through the poems that I had that were tying into those subtopics. So that's how I was able to select this, my first book. And my second novel, the storytelling poetry, I wanted to write a book that was able to convey how our relationships are affected by our family relationships and inevitably affect the decisions that we make along the way. So I decided to use A to Z, so a poem for each letter of the alphabet. So there I had to, again, find a poem which answered 2. Letter A, letter B, letter C, and they had to convey exactly what I wanted to. So it was a tedious process, but it worked out in the end.
Yeah, boy, that sounded like it was Well, it's for you in truth, but I don't sure I had the patience, you know. Camille, what about you? How did you decide on the 22 out of the 350?
It was not, well, yeah, I would say it wasn't easy. The first step was I eliminated the poems that I did when I just started writing. So any poems that I found from about 2002-ish to 2007-ish, they were not, I consider those the brainstorming of my writing career. So I those, if published, to me would cater to children because they are more innocent. They don't really have they're very light and breathy. The heavy hitting one, so I developed into doing more social political commentary. So a lot of my poems center around that. I ended up choosing those, well, I chose 21. I wrote one as an introduction. So one is specifically written for the book. But when I chose those, I realized there was a common theme running through them, which is struggle, but broken up into different sections. Not that they're named in the book, but if you read, you can see I speak about alcoholism, I speak about being Black, I speak about the struggle as women that we face, and I always forget the fourth one. But those are in there. So, and I didn't want to overwhelm my readers because I do write longer poems. So I thought 21 that covered almost 60 pages in and of themselves. So I didn't want my first book to have 100 pages.
Right.
Yeah.
In both of your explanations, I notice you both have poetry that caters to one, women, and another, being Black. Why are those two topics important to the both of you? That you put pen to paper and that's the concept you portray, that you bring forth in the words?
I'm a young Black woman, and although we may not have much of a racism issue in our culture, I think that poetry caters to not just me, a person who's on island, but the book has been able to reach outside of Grenada. So I think that it is a way to encourage others to appreciate themselves and to just love who you are as a being. We're all different, but it's important for us to recognize who we are and see our importance.
I do think there are some global struggles that young Black women face around the world in terms of, I think I speak in my book, I have one called Sanitary Napkin. It's about the struggle we face when it comes to our periods, how we have to dumb it down, how we are expected to function as if nothing's wrong when there's feeling like there's a war in your uterus. So, and the amount of money we have to pay for things that should be considered, the word is escaping me, but yes, essential products. So I know everybody could relate to that as a woman. Doesn't matter where you are. And as for being Black, as Amy said, we don't necessarily struggle with it. But when I went away to study, I got a taste of it. So, and you could relate to it even though it's happening far away. So I thought it's something I go through. It's something people like my mom, my grandmother, other friends have gone through in stages of their life. So I felt the need to write about that.
And Blossom, one of the things that we noticed during that whole George Floyd situation was that we are so very, blessed and secured in our island. And when we think of a person who carry the same skin tone as us in other regions, they don't have that security that we have. So during that time, Camille and I would have started a movement, the 400 years, 400 word challenge, where we would write a poem a day, or sometimes share a piece. I do 2, she does 200. And just to express our feelings for our brothers and sisters who are outside of our region. So we may not be experiencing racism here in Grenada, I'm talking about, because for some other Caribbean islands, they may also be experiencing it. But it's just a way to say we stand with you, and we may not fully understand, but we would like to show that we appreciate and we care for persons who share our heritage, our skin tone. Yeah.
And we also come from the same history, similar history. All people of our color were essentially slaves. We didn't come from any part of the world except Africa. So once you're outside of Africa and you have our skin color, we are bound by a similar history. And even though our effects have watered down where we live, again, as Amy said, we kind of ignorant sometimes of how it goes down, we can still understand what they go through and commiserate with them.
Nice, I like that. Consciously conscious, I like that. Transitioning from poetry into novel writing. What inspired you to try a hand at it? Because poetry, for Camille, it comes easy. But what inspired you to say, you know what, let me actually have a set story that would span hundreds of pages, maybe 400 pages? I can span hundreds of pages and try my hand at novel writing.
So this is a story that I have to tell often. I was studying in Trinidad a couple years ago, started about 2014. And in 2017, I was almost finishing all my courses ahead of time. And I was just homesick for some reason, Blossom. Maybe the smell of the cocoa, something, I was just missing it. And I wanted to come back home, but I couldn't at the time. So I had to stay in Trinidad. And while I was there, I used to blog. So I had a blog, and I would just send out little stories, make persons used to read laugh. And this one time, I started writing this little snippet about a neighborhood gossip and how she would have said things to another neighbor, and there was this big brawl happening. And a friend of mine read it, and he said, you know, this will make a real nice Grenadian novel. So I thought about it. I ran the idea by Camille, and I said, let me go for it. So the book started at the last chapter, and now I had to find a way to time the beginning to the end of that book. So I started writing just as Grenadians would speak. And it was raw, it was funny, it was scary at times, and I just sent my manuscript to Camille, and I told her, have a read at this and tell me what you find. And she said, hey, this is real good. So I said, you know what, I think I'm going to try to publish this book. So I got someone to help me with the cover design, exactly the kind of picture I had in my head of what I wanted to portray. And thus we had Change Standby in 2019.
I like that. And I like that you started in the end and then had to start from the beginning. And Camille, what inspired you to start your journey at novel writing?
I read a lot when I was young. I started at 3. My mom would read to me before that, but I started reading my own books at 3. And by 8, I had read out all the children's books. I had read out all the secondary school English literature books. I had read out Homer and the Iliad and all those Greek sagas. I read everything. So there were always a lot of ideas running in head. And writing became a source of escape when I went to study. I studied in Martinique. It was very foreign. Nobody really knows about Martinique and Grenada. So I was the one Grenadian over there. And it was kind of lonely. And so whenever I got lonely or I was stressed, I would write. And some of it came out as poems, and a lot of it strangely came out as stories. So that's when I started 1, 2, 3, about 7 different stories. And I wrote the first 3 chapters in each one easy. and I set them down because then I got busy. And the other day, about 2 years ago, I was going through my flash drive, and I said, but wait, these looking kind of, they're looking kind of okay. So I said, you always look at your stuff and yours is the best in your eyes. So I sent it by Amy. I said, Hannah, want to see the situation? So fine. She said, but Camille, this have potential. So I challenged myself, because poetry is so easy to me, to really put the story together. And the more I tell people about it, the more they say, hurry up, because mine is kind of sci-fi-ish. It's about the manipulation of time. But the beauty of it is that it's set right here in the spy style. So I really am trying to finish it. As I write, I send it to Amy. A lot of people, I don't know if you know, but we're very good friends. Like anything I have written, she has seen it before anybody has seen it, and vice versa. So as I write, I send it to her, and she listens to it instead of reading, and she lets me know, okay, the rhythm is good, it's palatable, so it's very encouraging. So it's getting along there. I'm at chapter 18 of I'm not sure how many.
You think we have a common team going away to study and feeling homesick and lonely.
Yes.
Well, it seems to inspire great literary work, so I'm all for it. And I want to ask about your friendship, because throughout the conversation I realized that you both collaborate and seek each other's opinions. How has that helped in your career as writers, poets, novelists?
I think when you have someone that is honest with your writing, that is what is most important. Because sometimes when I think friends and sharing my work, I think of persons who may not want to rub me the wrong way, or may not want to give me constructive criticism, to damage the relationship or so. So they choose to be, say, okay, it's all right. But Camille is honest. I love that about her. She's honest about it. One day we went out to do a beach day, writing only, and I was reading this poem that came from my soul, and Camille was like, nah. I don't know where this is going. You have to finish it. So I think the honesty in it makes me comfortable enough to share something with her. I'm thinking about writing Chains That Bind, and I send it to her. And she's going along, she's critiquing. Okay, you said this up here, but that doesn't tie into what you may intend to say down it. So I think the relationship that we have makes it easier to share our work with each other.
And for me, what I notice, in addition to the honesty, is you have somebody that's really in your corner. So, sometimes if you are in the same lane as a friend of yours, there's a little jealousy, a little envy or something. I don't have that with Amy at all. Anything I send to her, I know she's excited for me. And if she knows of a way that it can be better, she would tell me. You might have somebody who, they see the writing, they could see the 20 errors in it, but they refuse to say it. Yeah. They're your friend, but they refuse to say it because it's going to be too good. If you come up to any of the book sales we're having, I just advertise Chains That Bind.
She does.
The most. You would think it's my book. It's not. Because I love that book so much. It's my favorite Grenadian novel. It's Amy's book. So it's really genuine, and there's nothing to fear. And we just care about each other at the basis of it all. So I think that is one of the most important things.
And there's such a funny story to how we met her that sometimes I just have to laugh, because our fathers were friends way before as ministers of the gospel. Donkey years ago, we were not even in line. And then Camille ends up in Tamsisi with my sister. And then I bugs up Camille on a church camp. And she's like, oh, you know Abby? And I'm like, that's my sister. But she said, I went to college with Abby. And then here we are. All of us just family members, just know each other. Then we realize, we're closer than we think.
What is to is must is. Grenada is a small place and it works to our advantage a lot of times. So you see how all the link up? It was meant to be. Ladies, before we go to a break, somebody on Facebook, Monet Williams, just wants to give you both a shout out to let you know that she's a Grenadian living abroad and she's proud of you both. Hopes to meet you someday if it is the Lord's will. Somebody else on the WhatsApp says, big up our Grenadian authors. And another Facebooker says, loving the vibes and the excitement of the authors. Continue the good work. Blessings to all. So you're getting a lot of love and kudos. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to chat some more with Amy and Camille. They are going to also tell us about an organization they are hoping to get officially off the ground in short order. Showroom on Good Morning Grenada. We'll be right back.
Imagine having the home of your dreams. Imagine investing in that piece of property you can call your own. Imagine finally doing that home improvement project you've always been thinking about. It's time to stop imagining and start doing. Let the GUT Credit Union help you take the first step with fantastic rates, affordable repayments, and reduced legal fees. Make the move. Get better terms on your mortgage. Use your home equity to make those dreams a reality. Act now. There's really no place like home. GUT Credit Union. It's where you belong.
Get Rubigas. Get cooking. Rubigas, clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Rubigas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100 pound cylinders. Rubigas LPG, clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking with Rubigas?
Get Rubis, get going. Introducing Color by Sissons. 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 Color by Sissons.
Grenada's Chief Medical Officer has ordered that all confirmed positive COVID-19 individuals, their contacts, and members of their household must remain in quarantine or isolation for 14 days. Anyone who fails to comply with this order will be in breach of the Public Health COVID-19 Regulations 2020 and is guilty of an offense. Upon summary conviction, that person will be liable to a penalty of up to $10,000. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Good morning, Grenada. This morning we're speaking with two of our local authors as well, Miss Camille John and Amy Jones. Before we get into their plans for the launch of the GPA, Grenadian Published Authors, I would ask both ladies to read an excerpt or a piece or a portion or a poem or a chapter or a page, whatever their heart fancies, of their novels. I am excited. We were giggling during the break. That's why I came back giggling. Don't worry. Inside conversations. So I'm going to ask the ladies to read an excerpt for us, please, and thank you.
I go first again?
Yes, go for it.
Right. So I'm reading the prologue of Chains That Bind, Grenadian novel. James, Janice called for the second time. James, you there? Yeah, I did. James finally responded. But how you get quiet so, baby? Janice questioned. The concern could be heard in her voice over the phone. I'm just tired, girl, James lied. You sure? She asked, even more concerned. You know, if something happened or something bothering you, you could tell me, you know. Yes, baby, I know. You don't have nothing to worry about. James knew he was wrong for keeping this from his wife, but somehow he felt like he had to. Every time he tried to be honest, it was like a thread was pulled to sew his lip shut. James knew something was wrong, but the more he tried, the worse he felt. Well, if everything okay, I'm gonna put them girls to sleep, Janice responded. It's minutes to 8 and you know how Cherry head hard already. I love you, you hear? I love you too, baby. Kiss them trend for me, eh? Yes, I will do that. And how long again? Janice asked, as she did since her husband left. She knew the duration he was scheduled to be in Sans Souci, but somehow hearing his words reassured her that he would return and return soon. Janice, only a week ago, you know. Tomorrow's Saturday, making it 2 weeks, James responded, but Janice sighed. It was a deep, melancholic sigh that broke his heart as it did every time. He took the opportunity to make her feel secure in the fact that, one way or another, he would see her soon. 6 months will go by fast, I tell you. Don't worry, we will see soon. Suddenly, James felt a cold shiver over his shoulder, traveling down his spine and into his legs. He knew that feeling. Janice, I had to go. Click. Before she had a chance to respond, the phone was disconnected. James sighed. He turned around to see the long, flowing white dress hovering over his window. It was happening again, and he couldn't help the pull he felt towards her. As she hovered away, he trembled. Fear gripped him in a way nothing else had ever done. He wanted to tell Janice how he felt and what he was experiencing, but it was almost as if he couldn't. No matter how hard he tried, the words could never come out clearly. And then he thought about her temper and that she would just think he was making the perfect excuse for having another woman. He thought to himself that even if Janice suggested such a thing, she would be wrong because she knew James loved her more than he loved anyone else. Maybe if it was up for debate and discussion, he had loved his children equally or maybe just a little bit more than he had loved her. But there was no one else. He would never do a thing to intentionally jeopardize their relationship. As the thoughts raced and his fear gradually subsided, James drifted off to sleep. At 3 a.m., James was awoken to the feeling of a strange presence in his room. It was a similar feeling he had earlier while on the phone with his wife. He rose up from the bed, eyes bright and blazing. He was in a trance again. He walked towards the window, crawled through the open space, and planted his feet on the wet grass. It was cold, but he didn't feel it. His eyes were glued on the beautiful young woman adorned in a long white dress. It was night, but the young woman's head sported a big straw hat that covered the majority of her face. He walked towards the bushes right ahead of the Sans Souci Great River and was lost behind the trees that overlooked the flowing water. As the woman stripped her clothes and entered the cold water, James did the same. And as it happened in times past, at the break of dawn, James would wake up at the mouth of the river, lost and confused. He would have to search for his clothes and make his way back to his house. He felt embarrassed, confused, and violated. What had happened? Why couldn't he remember? And worse yet, why wasn't Papa God listening to his prayers to stop this woman from taking advantage of him? He had planned that morning to leave the island as his last working day was the day before. One way or another, he was getting out of that place and never returning.
James. Oh, James. Finger click. Why, James? Control. Oh, jeez, James. All right. Okay, hold on. No, the story catch me, isn't it? It catch me. I want to see what happening afterward. I wonder if you when you tell Janice. Hold on. No, don't tell me. I'll read the book.
You have to buy chains that bind. You see why
realize. You catch me. Oh, get that one. You catch me. Camille, you're up next with any poem that you would like from your book.
Okay, so this is called 1 a.m. It's a storytelling poem. Let me preface this by saying this is not a real story. I performed this poem, and the fictitious man in the poem, everybody wanted done him. Let me say, he doesn't exist. Okay, so it goes. He called me at 1 a.m. right out of the blue as I was settling into bed, like if he knew I wasn't asleep yet. Hadn't turned my ringer off yet. So my phone rang, Adele sang, hello from the other side. One time at 1 a.m. Sorry, but he only called me one time at 1 a.m. I rolled over, bit my lip, looked at the phone screen. This wasn't a dream. I had a couple of thoughts. Do I answer or not? So many people get these phone calls, but do I want to get caught up in what it meant, in what it could possibly mean? I looked again at my phone screen. It had been ringing for 1 minute, but he called at 1 a.m. Maybe it was important. He hadn't hung up. And while I was hung up on the potential implications of a late night exchange of information, he could be dying or injured or drowning in frustration. The phone was still ringing, Adele still singing, my heartbeat thumping, pulse racing. It was 1:02 a.m. Shouldn't let that phone ring again. Hello? I sunk into bed, took in copious amounts of air. His voice was smooth, low, rough. He talked slow. I could hear him spinning a tale about how he'd thought of me just before he dreamed. I looked at my screen and inwardly I screamed. But all I said was, and I flopped over in bed and I sighed, and it was 1:05 a.m. But I was wide awake, and he spoke and I sighed, and the minutes ticked by until I yawned and he laughed. I'll let you go. But it's only 4:20. It was late, but he promised to call, and he did the next day at 1 a.m. We'd fall into a cycle. He'd call, we'd discuss dreams. I'd stare at my phone screen. I'd stare into the darkness and sigh, and those hours would just tick by. And every time a conversation would end, he'd call back at 1 a.m. Until one day, it wasn't a conversation. It became a meetup, invitation. So when your host, 1 a.m. At this point, we'd spoken for hours, maybe days. So why'd he want to meet up this late? Took a couple of deep breaths and sighed. I can't meet up with you. He asked why. I felt I shouldn't have to explain, but handed him an excuse anyway. And I was met with silence. I could sense the disappointment. The conversation had come to an end, so I waited for 1 a.m. That day and the one after, I tried calling, but mine went unanswered. I never heard from him again, but a piece of me still hopes that my phone would ring at 1 a.m.
That dirty man. It's a good thing you give me the preamble, and I would ask you, who is the man? So because he can't meet up, he just never covered. But you're telling me.
Well, he has a story with this. I performed this Tuesday at the Yacht Club, because I perform on Tuesdays there with Solid. And everybody loved it so much. So who is this man? And what happened next? And so after telling them, listen, this is not a real story, but you had to give us part 2. We had to figure it out. So this poem has ballooned into a saga. I'm currently on writing part 4 for next Tuesday coming. So there's a part 2 and a part 3. There will be a part 4. I don't know if there'll be a part 10.
You had to meet him in tongue and give him 2 slaps out and bright with himself. Okay, let me get it together. Ladies, we're almost out of time, but I need to ask about the Grenada Published Authors, the organization that you're hoping to get up and running. Where are we with that, and why do you think that organization is needed, especially in Grenada?
Right, so the organization was started about a year and a half ago by David Ambrose and a few other authors. What we noticed is that a lot of people don't realize there are a bunch of authors in Grenada, published authors. There are many published authors in Grenada. So we wanted to find sort of a common ground for individuals to come together to promote and to share their work and to encourage the sale and the distribution of books, not only just to persons on the street, but to our students in schools. We are interested in getting some of our novels into the education system to encourage our young people to read local. Read first, but read local. And we have had discussions, and let me not say we, I wasn't there, but Mr. Ambrose and the others have had discussions with persons in the Ministry of Education with interest in doing so. So we are trying to solidify ourselves as a group so that we can officially call ourselves the Grenadian Published Authors and get our work out there, not just in Grenada, but in the wider region.
In addition to that, if we become the Grenada Published Authors as an entity, it will be easier to bring books into the island. Currently, well, I heard they changed, but it was 21.9% VAT on books, which I think personally is ridiculous. If we are bringing books in, we are one, cataloging our history and our culture in the written form, 2, encouraging reading, literacy, therefore contributing to education. Having to pay 21.9%, I brought in books. I will not tell you the scandalous amount I paid to clear it.
It's not spoiling.
Okay, that might shock too many hearts here in the public, but it's ridiculous. So I heard it was dropped, but 11 point whatever percent is still too much for the work that we're doing. A lot of the books that are being sold, we're not making too much money on it. I know people probably think it's a money-making venture. It's not. It's a labor of love, because by the time you bring it in here, any profit you make is negligible. I think when you break down the amount of poems I have for the price I sell my book, it's about 17 cents per poem or some ridiculous. Let's not get too much into it, because every time I think about it, I get angry. But as an entity, as an organization, we would get concession. And so maybe the books would be even cheaper for our locals to buy, because then we could afford to.
Let's hope for the best. I feel your pain. As a reader, I feel your pain, especially when it comes to our local authors and the folks who are trying their best at ensuring that we can relate to the books that are written by our own people. So I know what you're going through. Well, not specifically, but I have a feeling I can relate. Ladies, where can we get your novels, your books?
We are self-published authors. The majority of us from Grenada Published Authors are self-published, so our books are with us. And we can be found in our pop-up book sales. We've had several pop-up book sales. We go to different parishes. Our intention is to go all around the island, carrying our books as libraries because we know we don't have physical libraries in the country. So we've been to Grenville, we've been to the stadium, we've been to Camahan Park, we've been to Quarantine Point. We are going to Sutter's sometime in August. So we're traveling around the island and hopefully Caracon Petit Martinique as well. So our books are with us. So we can be found on social media. Amy J.W. Jones. If you find me on Facebook, I don't have a Facebook profile, but I have a page, Amy J.W. Jones. I can be found on Instagram and Twitter as well. Amy J.W.Jones, that's Instagram. So once you find one, you can find the other. And I have my books with me sometimes, so you may see me on the street, you may want to have a book, and I may be able to pull out a copy for you. And we also share the work of our other authors as well, so you may happen to find me with a book from Mr. Ambrose, or from Errol or Camille to sell.
Nice. But we can always give you their contact as well. Our books are also online on Amazon, available in ebook format for those of you who prefer to carry all your books in one place. Or you could order it and receive a hard copy. The downside of that is you don't get it signed. So if you get it from us as the physical authors, you get a signed copy just for you. My books are also at Clear Vision Eye Center. My dad has some, so you could just run in there for that purpose. But the books are with us. So if you need any, you can find me on Facebook at Kamille John, Camille with a K, or I'm on Instagram at cams_Millie, cams with a K.
I like that. Ladies, thank you both so very much for coming through this morning. Appreciated talking to you, learned about your journey, and I look forward to hearing more from you. Camille, looking forward to the publishing of the book, part 2, 3, 4. And Amy, I really, really want to read the combination. I like the combination, the idea of the combination of the poetry and the novel. I like that idea. I'm looking forward to that one too. Thank you both so very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a safe weekend.
Thank you. Same to you, Blossom.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
I love when we can talk and speak and hear from our local talent. Appreciate the ladies for being in the showroom this morning. Camille John, Amy Jones. Anytime you need to read one of their novels, you can just find them on social media. They always have their books with them when you want to read them. Appreciate it so very much. Let's join the BBC so very much. Thank you so very much for tuning into the showroom on Good Morning Grenada. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Remember, To the Point coming up at 9, and I have a guest this morning as we did open line yesterday. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Jump up, and it's part of the sweet.